Welcome back to the Backside Potty. On this special episode, we sit down and chat with head coach of the Road Cycling Academy and former pro cyclist Ryan Thomas.
2 gin and tonics, 2 vodkas, and a scotch.
Yes?
500 watts, please.
Now let's introduce you to the Backsiders. Jim Bob,
Yeehaw.
Freebs,
G'day.
Kurto,
Morning.
Shreds,
Hey.
Shauno on the mic, and Ryan Thomas is joining us this evening. What a pleasure, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. Nice to be at Easy Times. Good spot for a beer.
Surely is. We all love a beer.
So, Rhino, we all know you pretty well here, but tell us a little bit about yourself. You raced as a pro for a while?
Yeah, I've been racing like nationally and internationally for like 10, 15 years. I started national scene when I was like 15, National Road Series when I was 16, which is a massive surprise to most people these days that not many
bloody young.
people are
Baby.
Yeah, I was Tour of Toowoomba. I remember it very clearly. I rode for QAS and I was 17. I had to get permission from all the federations to do it, and it was 160k road stages. Like, it was insane from a 16-year-old, and you don't see it now. And I think it's something that's missing. We'll talk about later. But yeah, ever since then, I was just into the sport, all cycling.
How did you go as a 16-year-old in a national field?
I finished 10th overall, which was
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was.
Were you on restricted gearing as well?
Yeah.
No, I actually got exemption to go bigger gears.
Yeah, nice.
Because it was a National Road Series. So, yeah, I was very surprised with that. But
I imagine the domestic scene was still pretty strong back then, probably stronger than it is now.
yeah,
perhaps.
massive. We had like 120, 130 people in the NRS. That was when like Genesis and Budget Forklift had massive teams.
Yeah.
Like Jack Haig, I think, won the tour.
Yeah.
Joe Cooper, like those guys. There was like 5 or 6 guys who went pro in those 2 years.
Wow.
So yeah, really, really big fields. And great racing. Tour of Toowoomba is still my favourite race ever.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, first I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, I raced nationally just in NRS teams, and then got into Conti teams when I turned 17 and 18. Raced a bit in Asia, a bit in Europe. Yeah, a bit everywhere, and loved it.
That's unreal.
How did you get into cycling?
So I'm from Inverell, quite a small town, but quite renowned for cycling.
Yes.
A lot of good people come from there, good cyclists, which is very random. We're 12,000 people, I think, in Inverell, but very strong cycling and triathlon community. So I was growing up, my grandpa raced Grafton Inverell, for example. My dad was rode on the track and did a lot of racing in Inverell, and quite a strong club in Inverell. Historically, not so much now, but I was doing triathlons when I was 5 or 6, and there was like 100 people doing triathlons in Inverell, which is huge,
Wow.
like more than you would get at a club race in Brisbane. So it was a really big community for sport when I was young, and we had like 10, 15 kids around my age who were competing in club racing on the weekend, and it was massive for my age group. So we sent like 10 kids to state championships most years when I was 15 to 19. So it was really popular in my age group. Then, so that got me into it. So all my friends were cycling and family were cycling. So, yeah, it was quite an easy transition for me.
Yeah.
And have you done the Grafton Inverell a few times?
Yeah, I've done it 5 times now. I had to pull out once, but yeah.
I think everyone's got a story like that for that race.
Everyone, yeah, but still on the bucket list to try and get on the podium. I've gotten
I
close.
was going to say, yeah, what was your best result?
I finished 4th, but I got it's haunts me to this day. Or 5th, sorry, it haunts me to this day because the break won by 5 seconds, and I was coming around in the sprint, and they put me in the fence, and I had to stop pedaling. So if we had a quad, if I had more teammates, and blah blah blah, but haunts me.
You
Gonna
got
have to-
Groenewegen.
Yeah, you're going to have to
Or
get
Phillips.
fit again and have another crack at it.
Yeah, maybe
It's a brutal race.
it is
Brutal.
It is. I hope it continues. There's always talk of it not continuing, but I really hope that people keep backing it.
I reckon it will. I can't see that ending, unlike ARA, which, geez, what's going on there, mate?
Yeah, I think like
bit
it's
of a hot topic at the moment.
Yeah, it's a pretty natural progression in cycling, especially from a team like that who want to send people to the world tour. So I've been a part of ARA, and I know majority of the people who work there, and just understand what they're trying to do, and they're trying to get people from Australia to turn pro and help them turn pro. So people aren't turning pro in under 23s now. Like it's
True.
It's like
Too old.
There's maybe one or two that will turn pro this year, but you have to be phenomenal to turn pro. Like you have to go to Belgium or wherever in Europe and win a race. If you don't win, you're not getting a look in, unfortunately. So
That's so tough. Hey?
It's tough.
So the way that you need to turn pro is you need to develop kids when they're under 19s. You need to make sure they're getting exposure to international racing and understand how hard it actually is to race in Europe. Get them over there, get them exposed, get good power, link them to teams and development teams to get them in, because it's so hard that ARA, they release in their statement that it's financially hard, and I think it's, from their perspective, it's financially hard to support under 23s to turn pro, which is very, very valid, because they've got, I don't know, they may have 20 riders on their roster, but
Yep.
they may be turning one or two pro, and they've invested all that time into them. So
That makes a bit of sense.
it's very
I
it's
didn't
very
think of it
challenging.
from that.
That makes sense. But what about the local scene? I mean, is that just you just put a divide between the two?
I think it's just, yeah, you can still use the local scene, and I think the Pro Velo series is going to be really good for that, and it's something that needed to happen. And ARA, Matt Wilson, who is the founder of the Pro Velo series, owns ARA as well. So he is obviously heavily invested in that, but I think it needed to happen. They released that it's the winner, the under 23 winner of the Pro Velo series gets a stage year with Jayco. So that's like a massive benefit for anyone who wants to
That's
do
huge.
it.
Yeah,
So
it's a
it's
huge
never,
program.
they've always talked about it previously, and I remember when I was young, if you won the National Road Series, it was like you turned pro. Like it was guaranteed. Jack Haig, like Joe Cooper nearly did it, and Paddy Bevan, like anyone who won the National Road Series went pro. So I think they're trying to mimic that and use that under 23 link in Australia. Whether it's the best rider in Australia, we don't know, and whether they actually target it or not, it's yet to be seen. But I think they've done the right thing in creating a series in summer when everyone's in Australia, because we've seen over the last 5 years, 10 years even, that any time in winter, it's just like we had 150
numbers.
people in races, and now we've got barely getting 50.
10.
Yeah.
And that's
But-
national races, let alone Queensland races.
It's just a shame, because like the under 23s, they got no teams to be on. Like if ARA are just doing an under 19 program, Bridge Lane aren't looking likely they're going to even line up next year. The only team's really Caish. That's a national level sort of team. Blackshore's shutting down.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and I think it's something that cycling from a national and state level in Australia hasn't seen for a long time. So it's going to be very challenging, and I don't know how people are going to do it. Maybe the Pro Velo series will actually ignite a little
Yeah,
bit of
bring some
funding,
sponsorship,
bring some sponsorship, and actually see the value in it.
Get
But
some teams going again.
it's so hard from I've been in so many different teams. Like, unfortunately, I've been in like 3 or 4 teams that have folded because of funding, so I've had to move on to others. So I've seen a lot of how it's invested and the management and everything that goes into it. And from a financial perspective, it's what do you get from
Correct.
investing in a cycling team?
Yeah.
Like, you're not,
Love.
if you put 30 grand into it, sorry, but you're losing that.
You're not getting it back.
You're not getting $30,000 back in something else,
What about-
unless you're a cycling club or an actual, like Caish is actually quite intelligent, because I'd never heard of Caish before, but I'm going on
Correct.
Caish online and
I'm
buying
buying
stuff
stuff.
from Caish. So it's from them, they get a little bit back from it, but a company that's not invested in cycling and not recycling related, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but that investment is very hard to get back.
Yeah.
What about a backside team?
Mate, I would love to get a Brisbane
Eh?
/ Queensland team together that's under 23s and elite, but if you can get us 50 grand,
Yeah.
well, I'll run it. I'll organise it. Just gotta,
There you
You
go.
heard it
There
here
you go.
first.
yeah,
Reeves,
reach out.
Reeves.
I know a few
You've
people.
got some people, mate.
I know a few. I'm going to call out Matt Muir. He's a mate of mine he's down your way, actually, Yamba way, which is not far from Inverell, but I reckon
look him up.
I reckon I could twist his arm.
And what's Matt Muir do, mate?
He owns the Yamba Tavern. And he's nice, hence I know him now. And he loves his cycling. So he'll be listening to this. He rang me the other day and said he's loving the show, and he's listening to us over in Italy the other day. So
Make sure you have a few
Shout out to
skewies
Mad Dog.
first. Maybe 5 to 10 skewies before you ask, hey.
yeah,
Definitely
Do you know-
use some social lubricant.
it's an interesting one, because like other sporting codes, like you go to a football club or a cricket club and things, and people have to pay to be part of something, or they have to pay their way into things. It seems like it's always with cycling. It seems like you literally expect things to be done for you. And I'm just wondering if there's a way of blending some sort of, like, you got to bring your own resources plus you bring the collective for the team.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what the answer is, but I think the best model for it is ARA. I know, like, the recent statement, like, they're financially suffering, but they have the best team model if you look at what they're actually doing from a sponsorship perspective, from a Sunshine Council perspective, and the longevity of that team. They've nailed it, I think, and it'll be seen in a few years' time whether it actually properly works. But
Yeah.
what they've done is, because I've seen it from the inside, it's unreal what they're doing. So I don't know if anyone can mimic that, but it's a good model.
Do we sort of end up getting to a point with the National Road Series where we move more to sort of like privateers that you see sort of in the British road scene and less teams, or is that going to be the flavour for this year, do you reckon? Or
I don't think so. I don't think it's not like a gravel scene where you can have individuals turning up and doing a race. Well, in Australia, maybe you could have people as an individual racing and doing well, but I think it needs to be a team sport. If it's not a team sport, then it becomes very selfish and becomes very negative from a racing perspective.
True.
Fair shout.
But I think that if the National Road Series or the Pro Velo Series is to succeed, prize money needs to be a big part of it. Like, you can see it in the gravel scene in America that they win upwards of 10,000 US, maybe 5,000 US for a race.
Yeah.
Like $7.5 grand. If you could win $7.5 grand as an individual or a team for one race, everyone's
Getting
spending
people
$1,000 to go down and do
Correct.
that race. Like,
Exactly.
you're essentially coming out of it clear.
Yeah.
So from a financial perspective, even if it's individuals paying their way on teams, I'd be happy to pay $1,000 to go down and then get $1,000 in prize money or half of it back in prize money. So from that perspective, a lot more people would go to the races if they knew that they were coming out even.
Yeah.
Do we think the Pro Velo Series is going to pump up the frequency of, like, other races? Like, because I know we were talking last week with Maxi, and he was saying that, you know, going to Europe and the frequency of races is what really makes the difference. Like, that's what we're not seeing here. Do we think we're going to see something like that?
I'm not really sure, to be honest, but I think historically in Australian cycling, like, you never have an off season, right? So the National Road Series has been from January, where you have nationals, all the way till November with just Tassie, and you may have had a bit of an off season in winter. But those people who don't go to Europe have an off season, but the others go to Europe and race for 3 months. So I think condensing it and making it in a 3 month block makes a lot more sense, because a lot of people will actually be, I need a peak for these 3 months. Let's go all in, train. I'll do all the events because I'm going to be on good form. Whereas I know a lot of people I've coached and I've raced with are like, I'm not going to go and do Tour of Gippsland because it's in the middle of 3 other races and I'm not going to be good for it. So why would I go down and
Why
spend
bother?
$1,000 on it, and I'm not going to be at my best. I'm not going to get a result. So condensing it makes a lot of sense from a fitness perspective and performance perspective.
With now Pro Velo, with ARA folding, how many individual people do you think will we see, or is it just going to be teams?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they're not necessarily folding. They'll have under 19.
The
They'll have an
under-19s,
under 19
yeah,
team there, I would assume, unless there's an under 19 series. Haven't looked into it too much to see if there is an under 19 series. But they may blend under 19s into it, which I think is a smart idea. Under 19s need to be a part of the elite teams if they're going to perform in Europe at a higher level. They need to be a part of the best riders in Australia, in my opinion. But that's another point. I don't know how the teams are going to go down. Like, you need 10 grand to enter. So I don't know what teams are going to start popping up, but there needs to be, like you said before, there's Caish.
Yeah.
Is anyone...
And I don't know who else. Like, Tandem is there. I'm trying to ramp up some more support for Tandem and trying to get riders.
Bike Bug. We'll get Bike Bug.
Bike Bug. You got teams clashing there. Can't have too many in Queensland. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what teams are going to come, and I reckon it might come down to individuals just throwing together a random composite team.
Would you enter if there was an individual or composite team put together? Would you enter?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Would Chelsea allow it, actually?
Yeah, she'd come down, mate. She'd throw bottles. She loves it. She is just as much a cycling fan as I am, mate. She watches the tour overnight when the baby is waking up and I'm asleep.
That's commitment.
That's commitment.
Love that.
Love that passion.
With I was just thinking, like, Do we have enough crop there for an under-19 specific team? Like, is there enough riders showing potential?
100%.
There is?
Yeah, there's the riders there. You just don't see them because
Yeah.
they're not involved in the racing we're doing. So
Yeah,
like,
they're more
there's
track-based races.
a lot of the best riders on the track in Queensland, for example, like Toby Jones. He's going to Worlds on the track
Yeah.
next month, I think. So
Yep.
there's a lot. He's one example, but he's racing A grade now. So there's a few of those under 19 guys that are popping up now who are racing A grade in state racing that they could race
Yep.
National Road Series for sure. I think they're not as much in everyone's eyes, especially in like for our age group, for example,
Yep.
like 30 to people who are 30 to 40, like they're not seeing kids who are 16, 17.
No.
Kurt.
Not Kurt. But yeah,
Kurt's form this week. He's acting his shoe size, not his even age. Weren't you, mate? Just shifting gears a little bit. You've obviously done a lot of racing here and abroad. Any very funny things that stand out that you chalk up as one of the funniest things you've seen on the bike over the years?
Classic story. When I was young was when I first did my first NRS race. I can't even remember what it was. I think it was Tour of Toowoomba. Pat Shaw, I'm pretty sure everyone would have heard of Pat Shaw before, but he was like the enforcer of the National Road Series.
He was.
If he's listening to this, I like Pat and he's done a lot for road.
Just throw that in.
But he, I think I may have moved in his area or something and he spat on me straight up. Just like, yeah, he would chop you up, push you off the road, spit at you. And I don't know if it was on purpose or an accident, but it was a pretty common thing in the National Road Series back in the day that you just needed. There was just this order of respect, and if you were around him, there was respect him. Or
did you go him afterwards?
no, I knew.
Have you ever spoken to him about it?
I may have after
Is he
a
gonna
few
hear
beers
this?
at Tour of Tassie one year. May have come up.
Like, mate, you absolutely just landed one on me. Or is he going to hear this and going to send you a message afterwards and apologise?
No,
Or-
I doubt it. It was it's probably
Chalk
just
it down to racing.
a rite of passage.
Very good.
That's gold.
You mentioned before that Chelsea was staying up late with the baby. How is the baby going?
Yeah, good.
Yep.
3.5 months now.
Yep.
All starting to smile and laugh and interact with us a little bit
Yeah.
more. And I'm very thankful that I've got a work from home job and coaching full time. So
Yeah.
I'm there with him all the time.
So good.
So if we go down and work for a few hours, come up, see the baby, make sure Chelsea's doing all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very, very lucky man.
That's good. And health, everyone's healthy.
Everyone's healthy.
Yeah,
Everyone's
apart from
happy.
you.
Well, I'm healthy.
What'd you do?
I crashed my mountain bike silly. 2 weeks into newborn, I thought I'd go out and get a bit of fresh air. Went around going down my first single track and lost the front tyre straight down.
That sounds nearly as good as Jim Bob.
Yeah.
Well, look, the casualty ward here is strong at the moment, so you feel like
There's
something
a lot
must.
of metal in people's bodies at the moment.
Everyone's carrying some hardware, so you're in good company.
Mate, Sean can't even walk without a limp yet. I'm still waiting for that.
Couple weeks, mate. Couple weeks. But I'm going to roll Freebs on the weekend in the TT, so it'll be all good.
Big call.
That is a big call. Even Ryan knows that. That's a big call.
Freebs is riding well, mate.
He is.
It's a big call.
I'm going to do a big week just so I've got an excuse, Sean.
I got a broken leg.
It's pretty good to have a good week in B grade, isn't it?
So let's move things on to the important stuff. Rhino, what's your PR up the backside, mate?
I was looking at this. I think it's like 712 or something like that on the backside potty segment, which was, I think it was 2018, long time ago.
Yeah.
I honestly have never done it. I've done one full gas ever Cootha, and it was in the Cootha Burn, and it was to
That's what we're...
2016.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
and it was only to the last
Yeah.
on the right, the driveway on the right.
Correct.
So
Oh,
you
really?
You
Yeah, it's
didn't
way
do
short.
that last 200 meters. So that's still to this day my best ever 5 minutes 45 it took us to get to there from a
Jesus.
standing start.
That's
Holy
way.
shit.
Yeah, it was,
And
I
where-
didn't even,
where did
I
it
wasn't even
start?
fastest at the very end, at the
Very start of the Santos segment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where you
Yep.
turn off the left, on the
Yeah.
road on the left. So from
Oh,
the
okay.
standing start,
Yep.
it was like, I think I did 485 watts.
That is
At
that's cooking.
67 kilos. But
That's
Have a beer, please.
Wow.
so that's still my best ever. But from a full segment perspective, I don't think I've ever gone.
that's a full lactate shower. That is. Hey?
Mate, I could- that we
You're
had to do.
dripping.
We had to do it twice. That was the qualifying. That was just to make the final.
Oh,
And it was-
really?
It was $10,000 for the win.
Yeah, it was big. Yeah.
Holy.
huge.
Big money.
Hold on.
huge.
So you had to do back to back.
So how it
efforts
worked
on
was
the
there
day.
was heats. So there was 2 or 3 heats, and you had to make the first, second, or third to get through to the final, or first or second to get through to the final, and then I think it was the next 2 fastest times or something, like classic heat style.
So did you start in like a group of 4 or something?
Yeah, group of 5 or 6,
Yeah.
I think, was in our first heat,
Yeah.
and I remember the heat very well because it was with Seb Berwick.
Yeah.
Who he was like
Handy.
He was like 14 at the time,
Oh my.
and he beat me in the heat.
Wow.
Like towed me up. The last minute was at like 700 watts or something ridiculous. It was
Wow.
insane. And then I came down, and you had to recover. It was like an hour or 2 between the heat and the final, and I could barely pedal in the final. It was insane. And it was like 7 guys. It was Nathan Earl, a couple of really good hitters, Seb Berwick. Like it was, really, really strong guys because it was 10 grand up for the win.
Yeah.
So who won?
I think it was Seb. Seb won, or maybe Nathan Earl. Can't remember.
14 and 10 Gs.
Yeah,
would
that'd
pretty
be all
handy.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
deposit
it
for your
was-
first house back then.
Yeah, it was insane. It was wild, but it was such a cool event.
Yeah. Well, we were chatting about it with thinking we might try and hit up Brisbane Cycling Festival and
Yes.
get something going.
I
Got any
would
contacts there,
love
mate?
it.
You got any contacts there? Nice.
Yeah. So Brisbane Cycling
Maybe.
Festival, if you're listening,
We're coming at
yeah,
you.
we're coming.
We're having a management meeting after this
I like it.
to put it together.
It's probably a smooth segue into the 15K to
Yes.
how would you get your bike up there?
How would you if you had a
Yeah, what did you ride?
$15,000 budget?
Yeah, what'd you have then even?
What did I have then? I think I was on Data 3, so I had a Focus Izalco Max with
Pretty light.
Durace Durace
11.
mechanical 11. So it was like, it was light. It was
Damn.
probably 7 kilos with 202s. So it was
Oh, that'd have been ripping fast.
yeah. But
Stiff.
if I had a perfect bike for doing that segment, I like to reference Mitch Newman here. He classic time trialist upper climb Montville hero.
Wasn't that just incredible?
Yeah, it really was. He stripped down an old Cannondale Super 6, took brake levers off, bar tape off, put aero bars on it, 202s, took down. It was like insane. He went neck level. It was like it must have been 6.8 kilos or under.
The king
Wow.
of Montville. He'll still let you know about it.
He's not the fastest up Montville anymore, but
Hold on.
Yeah, but
so
he'll still let you know about it.
no brake levers. What happens if you get to the top and it starts going downhill again? Like you just have to clip
stop
out and put
before
your
you get
feet
to the
down.
top.
Yeah.
Like you have to be going uphill to stop. Like
No, you definitely, realistically, you would have to get a light frame that's easily run a 1x. You don't need 2 chain rings going up there.
Yeah.
And like other guests on here before, you're definitely taking out the bottom cogs and the top cogs. So you only need like four cogs on there,
Yeah.
I reckon, at the back.
And what cogs and what chainring would you choose?
I'd probably, a gravel style would work well, I reckon. So like a 42
Yep.
with you probably want a 20. If you're going fast up there, right, you probably don't need anything more than a 25. But
Yeah.
and you need to be able to stand up and grind.
Correct.
So you want something down to like a 15. So
Actually, do you know, that's funny. We always talk about the bike, but we never talk about the technique to actually go fast up there. Like there's 2 or 3 pinch points. There's flat sections. Like how do you actually maximize your speed on certain parts of it? Because I mean, I break into 3 when I ride it. But how do you actually maximize your speed on there as well?
yeah, it's a very specific climb. If you know it, you can do it really well. But I think the first thing is you need to be going in at 50k an hour. And you need, like, not even a joke, probably even faster. Because
You need a sprint train.
you could have 5 guys in front of you to take you for the first 500 meters, and you're probably only doing 300, 400 watts for that first 500 meters. Or
Yeah.
500 is pushing it until the first left hand where it kicks.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
Then you're pretty much on your own. There's not much.
Because that's about
driving.
500 meters, roughly.
Roughly. But if you're doing 50k and into the bottom, that's
Yeah.
a massive advantage on anyone else who's ever done it. So that's your first point.
Shit, do you
but-
need drops if you're going to do that? Like,
Nah.
or do you
Nah.
cut your drops off and just stay on the hoods?
Aero tuck on the hoods.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
hoods for sure. I think cutting bars is getting a bit extreme, to be honest.
It is.
Yeah, I agree.
But-
And taking your brakes off is a bit extreme for the kids at home.
Yeah, but the
Leave your
last,
brakes on, kids.
I reckon that last 2 minutes of the climb is pretty key to
Oh,
getting
yeah.
a fast time, because you'll
Absolutely.
actually, if you go through and have a look at the segments like the 1500, 2000, the 2 to 2500, those segments, you can see where the people who have done an effort or they've tried to get the PR and then they've failed in that last 500 meters. Like
Yeah.
their time drops by like 10 seconds. So that last, you need to be able to save it for that last 2 minutes. Otherwise, you're failing pretty hardcore.
Yeah, right. From the mountain to the crit track. Muzz, what do we reckon? When's that getting finished? Have you heard anything, mate?
I have not heard anything, and honestly, I have not been past there in like 18 months. Since it's been closed, I do not venture on the south side of town.
Safety first.
The other reason to go.
I went
Go
past on the
Mars.
weekend.
You did.
How's it looking?
Very much like a construction site.
Yeah. Bugger.
I'm so keen for it to get done, though. It is still the best racing ever.
Well, I heard that they were thinking of hosting a QRTS round out there for like
October,
So we
aren't
got the start of September one, and then I heard something about
Look, they
the
might
second QRTS round.
knock
potentially.
down the asphalt pretty quickly, but
Yeah.
it did. I mean, there was stuff everywhere.
Yeah. Oh,
But we're definitely going to see you back at Mars, mate, when
be
it's
there,
on.
mate. I'll be there. I'll be racing as soon as I can. I'm a cyclist through and through.
He's
I'm a
keen.
racer through and through. I'm not racing. I feel like I'm missing out.
Do you reckon we'll get back to fields of 50 guys at Mars again pretty quick?
I
absolutely.
reckon we will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Curbs is going to unrack it. Bloody
Kurt.
Mel Rudolph will unrack it.
Kurt will be here.
It's going to be the resurrection of Queensland
Does Kurt
cycling.
even make a difference, though? I don't know if it matters.
He thinks he does.
Have you ever won a Muzz, mate?
I haven't won a Muzz. No, I've podiumed a few times. Podiumed with no socks as well. That was a good day.
Yeah. Great day.
But
We'll put that picture up.
yeah, it was a great day. No, I remember I was about to win, and then who rolled me? Kirby. My own coach rolled me.
That's how he keeps you honest, mate.
My own coach rolled me. Oh, that was depressing. That
I
day.
can imagine the thought process.
Even the
being
crowd
like,
at the back thinks that's
"Fuck
funny."
This kid. We're going to get him.
He has done that to me so many times, I cannot count.
Dude, it was a grim day. There was also another day I was in the breakaway with Curbs, Soden, and Carter Bettles. We all know that result. I wasn't going to win that one.
Who won Soden?
Yeah, Soden did win. I got Kirby fired up that day because I kept following Kirby, not Soden. And he turned around and he's like, fuck! Follow Soden! He's going to win the championship of Muzz or something like that. You know the point system at Muzz?
Champ of champs.
Yeah, champ of champs or something. But yeah, that was a grim day as well. Got 4th or 5th that day.
Oh, you love a grass podium, mate.
Love it, mate.
Coming from the king of grass podiums.
The guy that'll take you to the line and can't win the sprint. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, we all know about Sean's race tactics. But speaking
Right.
of race tactics, Rhino, the king of race tactics, we're going to give you a little bit of a hand shandy here over the radio, mate. But like,
Over the radio, over the AM.
that's right, mate, over the radio waves. Yeah, mate. So you're obviously one of the guys that we've all based our tactics off, watching you at Mars tear us up for years now. When you're racing, like, are you acting on impulse? Or are you thinking about what you're doing? Like, how are you making decisions when you're in a race situation?
All of the above.
All of the above?
Racing from such a young age, I think I just learned to be really tactical and analytical when I'm racing. So I've never had the biggest power numbers. I never will. And I always knew that when I was young, and I just had to learn how to race. So when I was 13, 12, I was racing in Inverell, and we would always do handicap. So in Inverell for 5 years, I would just start on scratch or chopping block, and you just go full gas until you catch everyone, and then you have a sprint. So, but most of the guys there were racing Grafton Inverell, winning B grade, and so they were really tactical as well. So I learnt from a very young age how to actually race a bike race in nationals from 14, 15 years old. So I think it was just ingrained into me so young that I'm always analysing what's happening in a race. So I got told very early that if you're not looking ahead in what's happening in the race, then you're not in the race. So if you're just sitting in the group and there's 40, 50 guys and you're looking at the 2-3 wheels in front of you, You don't know what's happening. If someone goes off the front, I guarantee I can tell you the people who are going off the front, even if I'm sitting at the back of the field. So that's a big thing, and I'm always watching who's moving, who's attacking, who's coming back, who's just done a turn. So I'm very aware and understanding of who's done what work in the race. So who do I follow? Who do I attack over the top of? There's so many things that go into it. And unfortunately, you can't teach all of that. You just need to learn it. But a lot of people don't understand what they actually need to learn either. So I learnt from watching people and watching what they would do. So, yeah, I'm sure that's what other people do at Muzz as well, but it's very hard to teach.
Yeah, I mean, we've learned from getting slapped around by you and Kirby. So time and time again, weekend after weekend.
Actually, a lot of it comes down to I will never be the strongest person in the race until I want to be. Yeah. So it's like if I'm in a breakaway, I'll very rarely, unless I'm on an incredible day, I will never pull a bigger turn than anyone else in the break. So Shauno is a classic example because whenever you're in a mood with Shauno at the start in the first 20 minutes, he is ripping your legs off, 500 watt turns. And I'm like, Shauno, man, this sucks. Like, you're going so hard, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, yes, Shauno, let's go. And I'm sitting there tucked in my aero position doing 300 watt turns at the same speed.
You just got to say to him, is that it, mate? Is that it?
You just got to G him up. But honestly, you never, like, a bike race isn't won in the first 5-10 minutes, even though a lot of the times in Queensland it is now, but there's so many ways that you can win a bike race, and it's always in that last little bit.
When you're picking your moves, are you looking at the people, or are you going on the feel of the race, like i.e. a bunch of hitters that just come back and the pace is off and you just take a flyer, or just all of, like, any different situation? Yeah,
it depends on the race as well, what you're using it for, but a lot of it is the people. And when I was racing Muzz, for example, and Kirby and I were best mates, but I knew what he was like, and I knew that if he's attacking, I needed to be on the wheel, or he knows if I'm attacking, it's like, oh yeah, it's go time. So there's Kirby, Mal Rudolph, like those type of people when I was winning a lot, not so much now, but like now it's like Maxi Newman, or if you see Jackson attacking, it's like if you're letting those people go, you're out of the race.
Won't see him again.
You won't see him again. Yeah. So it's not even, you don't even think about that. It's not that's an automatic response. As soon as they go, it's immediate. And if you hesitate, I'm sorry, but you're on the back foot already.
And mate, how do you reckon Kerbs have gone here?
Kerbs?
Yeah, how do you reckon?
Podcast?
Yeah, how do you reckon he go?
He'd love it. He mentioned it to me the other day. He's had a listen a couple of times. You'd have to hit him up. He's very high up on the list, I would say, for noteworthy people in Brisbane.
Yeah, 100%. We'll slide into your DMs, Kerbs.
He's obviously a coach, and so are you. Tell us about your coaching business and how long you're doing it for, etc.
Yeah, so I studied PE teaching at uni, exercise science and PE teaching at uni. I was doing coaching throughout uni as a job. And then once I finished my degree, and I was like, I started teaching and doing a bit of contracts, but coaching was going pretty well. And I started with, I was in ARA and racing a bit, and then they got in contact through Cameron Nichols, he owns the Road Cycling Academy. He's quite big on YouTube. He's got a big following. But he reached out and needed a coach, and I was the first coach he hired, apart from himself. So now the Road Cycling Academy massive. We have 6 coaches. I'm the head coach, so I handle all the coaching stuff and allocate all the athletes to the coaches. And yeah, it's quite a big business. And yeah, full-time coach now for 4 years, I think, and haven't gone back to teaching because coaching life is unreal, and it's a unreal job.
Nice.
What sort of clients does the Road Cycling Academy bring? Like a range of all types, or is it a specific type?
I would say our market is full-time workers who, not time crunch athletes, but the people who are doing like Grand Fondos or just trying to self-improvement. So not necessarily elite level racing and internationally in UCI races, for example. A lot of our people are doing Grand Fondos. So we have quite a few people in Queensland and all across Australia doing like Tour Brisbane and Amy's Grand Fondos and World Grand Fondo Championships and stuff like that. But also people doing like the Great Southern Race, which is
Lawn.
No, Great Southern Race is 1,200 kilometre Audax race. So
wow.
ultra. We'll have a lot of ultra riders. So it's there's a big one in France. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but they hold it every 4 years, and there's only limited spots.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of that ultra endurance, ultra athlete
right.
riders as well.
What are those people like mentally?
They can
Cracked.
just go all day.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Looking at the data, and you see, like, I had a guy who rode from Brisbane to Byron Bay and back. It was like 600k ride overnight. But the TSS, I saw the TSS, and I was like, this is like out of this world. It was massive, like 800 or 900 TSS or something stupid.
Over
I'll
2
take a
days.
50-minute crit over that. If you go.
Yeah,
That
so-
sounds horrible.
How do you coach that though? Like that's
Yeah, it's very different. So I'm very lucky that I get a lot of experience. So outside of the Road Cycling Academy, I also coach people who are racing UCI races as well. So I've got those people, and I've got people who are training for 50-minute crits,
Yep.
and people who are training for 1,000-kilometer races. So it's unreal. But I learn a lot. I learn a lot from the athletes, and just from understanding what they get. But from an ultra endurance ride like that, it's actually, I helped this guy recently who comes to mind who did that ride. Who he did an event not long ago, and he is the best he's ever done. But we didn't do that long rides. Like you would think to do like a 50-hour ride, for example, you got to be doing massive Ks, right? But we were doing like 15, 20 hours a week. Like,
Yeah, right.
And he got so much better from specificity. So he was just going out and riding hard all the day and smashing himself. He's like, I just need to get fit. Like, I just need to ride hard all the time. But it's absolutely not the case. And often it's teaching people to ride easy.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard thing to teach people, but that's a lot of the job and a lot of what people come into coaching with this mindset, and they understand what zone 2 training and all that is, but looking at it from a data perspective and from a coach perspective, it's often the hardest thing to teach people to do.
People love a surge, don't they?
They love a surge.
They love a surge on a
Love a
pinch, and they
surge.
love to have free will on the way down.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing, but it's about specificity, and I'm just got to try and educate. Like I'm a PE teaching as a
teacher.
degree, so I like educating and teaching people why it is important to do certain things, which I love.
What's the best or the biggest improvement you've seen in a Watts perspective from a client?
I've had this one guy in Melbourne who I've coached for almost 2 years now, and he is super strict with what he does. Like he will follow exactly what I do every day, greens on Training Peaks all the time, beautiful curves, like just loves riding his bike. He started at, I think it was 215 watts, I think, before he started getting coaching. And he was at 310. So
Wow.
that's a
Lazy Hungy.
Yeah, that's a pretty big improvement, but that's from going from a base of nothing to
Yep.
to going full gas or riding 15, 25-hour weeks. So there's
Jeez.
well, that's
He's
a big
working.
that's a big week.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see massive improvements because people are just going out and riding. So as soon as you start adding in specificity and teaching them the benefits of what type of work they're doing, they go through the roof pretty quickly.
See, like you got a wide range of clients, ranging from the Grand Fondo specialist to the elite cyclist. Do you take the same protocol for the two different people, or
No,
yeah,
it's very similar. You use a lot of the same basic principles,
Yep.
but it's also very different. And I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years, I'm a very different coach to what I was 4 years ago. But it's because every person I coach is so different. Some people are working 60 hours a week, some people are not working at all. So you have to know the individual. So there's not a silver bullet, unfortunately, and it's knowing the individual, what they can handle, and that's building the relationship with them so that they're honest enough with you to tell you how they're feeling and how they're adapting with the work. And yeah, it's so different. I could talk about it for hours about all the different types of approaches, but
yeah,
I think it comes down to the biggest thing that you want from an athlete is consistency and quality. So I talk about it all the time on videos on YouTube with Cam and stuff, and it's consistency and quality is the biggest thing that you see across the board, no matter what type of athlete you are.
Yep.
If you're riding consistently, it matters what you're doing, but it's not as big of an impact, consistency. And then the quality, are you actually doing good hard work and are you doing good easy work? So they're the three biggest things.
yep, and constant pressure.
Always constant pressure, mate. We got T-shirts made up about it, so do it.
What's your preferred client? Is it the person that works the 40, 50-hour weeks, or do you prefer the school student? Because those under 19 kids, if they're going overseas with ARA, they're going to be taking 3 months off school, obviously, to go overseas. So, which is your preferred client?
Oh, tough question. Mate.
Yeah, I know I'm a smart person with the camera.
I don't actually have a preferred client. Like everyone's good. My preferred client is the one who is motivated and actually can get stuck in and communicates well.
That's a stock standard answer, mate.
I'm a stock standard type of guy.
He's a teacher. One of the things that I guess every sort of cyclist does have to put up with is at the moment is Kurt. But the other thing they have to do is just as annoying as Kurt is COVID. How do you know when you've overcome COVID? What should you do when you've got COVID? What should you do when you come out of COVID? And when do you go back to being normal if that's such a thing?
Yeah, this is something that developed over the last couple of years, but there is actually protocols online and you can look them up. Australia has guidelines for returning to exercise from COVID. So they're the first point of call because they're the people who know what the side effects are. But honestly, you just need to listen to your body. So you're the only one who knows that you're ready to get back on the bike. And often you need to be more cautious when restarting your riding after having COVID than getting hard, because as soon as you overdo it, you're going to get stuck again. And I've seen people recently, in particular, they get sick, and maybe COVID it may not be. They start riding again, and then they get sick, and they're on a second round of antibiotics. And I've had like 6 people in the last couple of months that has happened to, because they get back on the bike too quickly, and they think that they feel good enough, but there might be that 5% more that they need a few more days off to get better. So biggest advice is be cautious, very cautious, and take it easy for 2 weeks.
Okay, good, thanks. The other thing about recently the Olympics, I was surprised watching it when all the athletes that were winning giving interviews after, just how many of them had COVID 2, 3, 4, 5 days before their actual event. It was interesting seeing how they were actually like performing at gold medal standard with having COVID only 2 or 3 days earlier. Did you see any of that from the Olympics as well?
Yeah, I think it's the variation of the strain of COVID. So we saw it when it first came out, when it was in the tour, I think, and it was like some people were getting COVID and then they were continuing on because it was a mild COVID, and then some people were out of the race because it was a strong COVID. So big quotation marks over that. We don't know what that actually means or what that looks like, but it's, again, you've got to trust yourself. So if you're going in the Olympics, like what are the side effects of it? We know that the side effects, if you're a healthy adult who's exercising a lot, the side effects aren't actually that bad if you push it too hard. So from their perspective, they're elite athletes, they're professionals. You're not going to miss the Olympics because you have a mild strain of COVID or a mild sickness. And
what about returning to exercise post-injury? What's your, as someone who is in this realm?
If you have a wife and a kid, be very careful.
Yeah, good answer.
Great answer.
No, I think you just need to be careful. Like, again, being too cautious is you're never going to get back that time if you overdo it. So taking a couple extra weeks isn't a bad thing. Your fitness is never lost; it's just hidden. Something like that.
So ride with to ride or not to ride with 12 titanium screws in your.
Yeah, not ride. Very clearly.
Did you hear that, Sean?
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, mate. It's all good. Crack on.
I love the commitment for cycling, though. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Live and breathe it, mate.
We're going to do fan questions. I was
Oh,
going to add in, as
there's-
Haddo would always say, you're only 400 What is he always saying? You're only a 400 kilometre ride from form away.
Oh, that was
Yeah, 400K
That was Big Willie. He goes, Big Willie was like, oh, you're only a 6-hour ride from form.
Actually, don't disagree too far,
Yeah.
to be honest. Like, if you went out and if you were not on form and you went out and did a 6-hour ride, I reckon a few days later, if you rested properly, you'd be feeling pretty good about yourself.
Alex Grunke used to say that you're only a week away from form, 400K week away from form.
Yeah, no.
I know Grunke well, and I wouldn't say that's the case.
I reckon
Has he ever done a 400k week?
He came back to
Man.
Brisbane cycling hardcore and he did 500Ks like 4 weeks in a row, and he was flying.
He was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Rhino, Sean decided to put something out on the socials and ask our diehard fans to ask some questions for you. And one of those questions was actually from myself, because I'm a diehard. And it was, how many beers should you have the night before to win a Muzz A-grade race? Because obviously I can't do it, so I'd like to know the answer. Is that possible? Because I've done it at uni, I've done it at Hamilton, I haven't done it at Muzz.
You might have to ask Harley Moore.
Yeah.
He's
The cockroach?
I've had a few nights out with Harley. We've 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. jobs and come out and race Muzz, and I think we've stood on the podium most times. So that's a lot of beers.
He's a
I don't
weapon.
know if there's a number.
Here's a proper weapon. So no number, you can't put your finger on it.
Minimum.
12.
How many do you need to win? Like, what's the limit?
Either way you want to look at it.
Plus a couple of Garys.
For me, at old lightweight over here, 6 beers, I'm
Really?
tanked.
Jeez.
If I've had, I reckon I could win off 10.
10.
10 beers.
That's
all right.
all right.
First Muzz back.
That goes into the next.
not
That goes,
before.
For someone who's had like 2 beers in the last couple of months, I don't know how that's going to go.
that goes into the next question, mate. Could you win the first Muzz when it returns? It's a
I would
yes or no
like. I
answer.
would. That's a big. I would love to. I will be all in for it.
Should we have it?
Actually starting to get in. I actually want to do more racing, so I'll be going full gas.
I'd love to see Muzz put a little bit of extra prize money for the first win on
Yeah.
the line.
We should.
Alright.
We should just get a
like
pool.
a plaque in the bloody
That'd be cool.
clubhouse.
The first race back on the new
First
track.
race back.
Yeah.
You take all honours. First past post, mate. You're taking all
The
honours.
track gets named after you.
Oh, wow.
That's a
Right.
bit much. Sorry.
Right, Rhino Circuit.
Need the rhino with some clocks through it, mate.
Wow.
We should do a show for the first Muzz.
Oh,
Oh, live broadcast.
Yeah.
jeez.
I don't know about that.
That's, that's
You're not
6:45
invited,
in the
Kurt.
morning.
Shreds, you'll be the only one there. We'll all
Yeah.
be racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll make
I'll
a
talk
return.
to myself.
You're
I'll
good
make
at
a
that.
return. No, I don't know about that. That's not on the card.
You heard it here first. Kurt Tozer on the return for the
No.
first Muzz back.
Out the back, mate. That'd be me.
Do you reckon having a baby has increased your cycling performance? Because we've seen it with the likes of Matthew Lambert and Jim Bob too. Bloody pop out a few kids, mate. Cycling performance comes.
It's up and down, mate. It's
Yep.
up and down. It's a roller coaster.
Whereas Lambo, geez, he
That's 100% yes for Lambo. It's- I don't know what has happened here. He just flies after having a kid, but
Yep.
not in my case. Absolutely not. There was a few other factors for me, but
You did fly, just not in the right way.
no, I lost 50 watts off the threshold, so I don't think that's the case.
For myself here, another question I sent in. How does a fat bloke get better at climbing?
Climb some more,
Climb some more.
increase your threshold.
And then
Sim-
simple.
do
Lose some weight.
Not
Change
always
your diet?
possible. Not always possible.
Not always possible.
No,
Really.
not always.
well, if we refer to Piers Morgan, he said do more exercise and eat less.
I can bang bang. You're an exercise scientist, mate.
And then that following on from that question, what is your favourite climb in the Brisbane or southeast Queensland area?
Go track.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw
Classic.
Ralphie and Khan and stuff went up it today.
Even though it was hissing down rain, I
Yeah.
was very jealous.
Really?
I'm a north sider mate, so go track for me is like 30 minutes away. I love that side of town.
There would have been mud all through your drivetrain after that. That's a big no from me.
It's on a mountain bike. Mate.
On to that.
What's-
Oh, even still.
No.
You gotta
Mud
clean
is
that
part
up
of mountain
after.
biking.
Yeah.
When you do go track, do you go down Nebo or do you go down Glorious?
Or depends what I'm feeling. If I want to go through the traffic or not is a real question at
True.
the bottom of Nebo. But I'd prefer not to go through the traffic. So
So you're down Glorious.
yeah,
Jeez, that's where I'm losing my form. That's where I need to be going.
Yeah.
down the hill. You reckon?
That's exactly where you've lost your form, Kurt, downhill.
Yep, correct.
Have you ever done some Zwift racing? And have you competed in any of the
Yes,
Top.
I am actually technically a Zwift Pro according to the badge,
Really?
on, my,
Stop
badge on my
it.
name. I did I think it was in COVID. I got asked by a team to do some Zwift racing over that period. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but during COVID you had to do it. So at that point when COVID started, I was on ARA still. The year before COVID started was the best year I've ever had in my cycling career. So I was still in the mindset of going pro. So I was still riding. COVID ended all of that for me. But yeah, I did a lot. I did a little bit, majority of my riding on Zwift through that period. So I have done a bit of racing on Zwift, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
I actually rode on Zwift this morning, and I did a little race. But I didn't finish because the baby interrupted.
Yeah,
God,
it's the
that is
baby
so
fault.
annoying, man. I had that too today. That really shitted me.
I didn't shit me. It was just happy to have a baby, happy to have a healthy baby. So
Nice.
it's fine.
Isn't that nice?
Nah, I'd give mine away. I've got 2.
I think
I've
it's time
had-
to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I've had mine for longer than you, Rhino, I can say that.
And you got 2.
All right, well, thanks for tuning into this special episode of the Backside Potty. Next week, we actually do have an Esport Worlds Team Time Trial Champion joining us. So if you've got any questions for her, send them in. Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks for coming on the puppy holiday, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really, really nice to have you.
It's been a treat. Appreciate it.
See you all next week.
Hooroo.
And a scotch.
Hooroo.
Yeah. Yes?
500 watts, please.